Oh my god, what a time to be alive. As for our audience, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everyone and everything between, welcome to episode 5 of the Stay Positive podcast. I am your host, Alex, joined by
Another host.
who may be referred to as not important, I guess.
Nope.
Uh,
And this is indeed, if you guys were wondering, our fourth attempt at getting the intro. It is the
P, you don't need to
longest.
ruin the immersion. They need to think we do this first try.
I'm just saying, man, it never takes us more than one attempt, but this time is special.
This
For
time is
reasons
special.
unknown.
Oh, really?
For reasons
It's not
truly
like
unknown.
we documented our failed attempts.
Hey, blooper reel coming soon.
Blooper reel, it's true, baby. Join us at the New Year's blooper reel of the Stay Positive podcast.
Exactly.
Anyway, oh, the world, Pete.
The world is beautiful, man.
It's beautiful
Cherish
and
it.
filled with so many lovely people.
Civilization is just
It's
dying.
It's peaked, I think. It doesn't get better than what we've been seeing over the last week or two.
Man, I tell you, I watched that video. So what we're going to be talking about today is a little bit of some social structure.
A trending thing or
and-
something that was trending
anyway.
a week or two ago.
And so Alex sent me a video, maybe like 3-4 days ago. And I watched this thing, and I tell you all, I was shocked. Because it's like one of those videos that you watch that you just laugh, but you also kind of pity what's going on there. And I just found it jaw-dropping, to say the least, in
It's-
bad and good ways.
No, just bad. It's ironically funny and unironically just horrifying and sad.
Yeah. So, how about you tell us what this video is, Alex?
So basically, I heard about this through like the media a little bit, but I didn't pay any mind to it. And then I stumbled upon a video and I decided to watch it. It's called Welcome to CHAZ. We might link it into the description.
We will, yeah.
And basically, for those of you unfamiliar, CHAZ was, I don't know if it, the Wikipedia page says they disbanded on June 24th, so I guess it's done.
And fun fact, apparently some people don't know they've
Yeah,
disbanded yet.
When they disbanded, apparently like the leaders knew they disbanded, but the actual people like there didn't even realize that they were allowed to like leave. Just showing you how well structured and amazing this new society, this autonomous zone, as
Yeah, so what does it stand for?
So CHAZ is an oh my god, CHAZ is an
English, please.
acronym. That's the word.
Yeah.
It's an acronym for Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, which basically means they not segregated, they separated from the United States.
Yeah.
They're not Americans anymore. Or for that 2 week period, they're not Americans.
They practically seceded from
that
50,
was the word.
the 50 states for I don't know how long. And the funniest thing is, I thought it wasn't like a whole state. It wasn't even a city. It was
It's like
just
3-4 blocks.
3 or 4 blocks in Capitol Hill. What is it, Washington?
I
I'm gonna
think
be honest.
Seattle.
Seattle's in Washington, man.
Okay.
Yeah. So in Seattle, Washington, just like these
Washington D.C. is also Washington. No, but I know what you mean. I'm just saying, Pete.
Okay, so
So yeah, Seattle. It's Seattle, Washington, Capitol Hill. A bunch of people during the protesting going on in our country, the United States. I don't know. They just had the idea that they went a step above protests. They thought it was a great idea. I think the reason they picked that location was that's where the police precinct was for that area.
oh really?
Yeah, and they got rid of the police. So they
What?
yeah, the police evacuated, like they ran away
No way.
cuz they're afraid, you know, they
Well, I mean, that makes sense, but I didn't know that they did that.
So yeah, no, they're very much their original beliefs. I don't know what they'll tell you now, but their original like beliefs were to defund the police. They're a part of that group
Well, yeah,
of
yeah,
people
yeah.
to like no more police because that's
No,
such
I
a great
understand.
idea.
No, I understand.
And
Oh, wow.
there
I
were
had no idea.
there were probably a few other things like about, systemized problems and all that stuff, systemic problems and all that good stuff. But that was probably one of the main things about like how to deal with the police. And their idea is get rid of them. We don't need police. And not even 10 days go by in this state of anarchy, because there was no leadership, there was no like there's no organization or structure. There's literally, I saw part of the video, there's like a guy like preaching to the crowd, and then he's like, are you guys afraid? And it's like, oh man, that was pretty soft, guys. It's like, are you guys afraid? It's like, no. And then it's like right in behind him, it's like, oh, ladies and gentlemen, we got pizza. It's like a bad after school activity. It's not like an actual
That's messed
like
up.
because it's like there's no structure. Like there was no way it was gonna sustain. Anarchy never sustains itself, first of all. But like,
Well, yeah, that's how anarchy
but like,
works.
at least I expected like maybe a month or two. Like they couldn't even survive 10 days without killing each other.
Really?
Yeah.
Was there actual bloodshed?
Yes, they started killing each
Wow.
other. These people, this organized group. I'm doing air quotes by the way when I'm saying organized. They're just like not even 10 days. I believe they started June 12th or June 14th, around
Uh-huh.
that time, and they disbanded at June 24th. So that's a 10-day period.
Uh-huh.
And within that 10-day period, they got a bunch of people. They set up walls, ironically enough. They distributed guns, even though they claimed they're anti-gun. And
Yeah, that I just want people who are listening to watch the video, because like there are little, it's like a slideshow almost,
yeah,
that just offers videos of the actual or footage of that zone in action, and then it'll be similar to a slideshow where it'll say like one thing and then
show
a completely ironic statement. So it's just like like what you just said. They'll say like, we're anti-gun, but we distribute guns to everyone.
Yeah, they're literally
like that.
there were literally people like holding spears and swords, like, and
No.
wearing armor, like very minority group, but like
Medieval armor.
yeah, no, makeshift medieval armor, not even like the real stuff. They're just like putting metal on
So it's
them.
Game of Thrones in 2020.
Yeah, but like not cool. It's just some hipster idiot.
Whoa, come on, man! Don't make fun of hipsters. I'm just kidding. I'm not. But
No, there's nothing wrong with being a hipster, but if you're a hipster and an idiot, the world's
So,
against
no,
you.
it's
You're
not-
definitely against the world if you're both of those things.
wow, man, that's
I just don't understand, like, who
I'm
thinks
like,
this
yeah.
is a good idea?
uh
The joke is usually that the people who join this are people who don't have lives, like who are in their 40s, or high school students who don't know anything. And
I mean,
I'm tempted
kids
to
are
agree.
impressionable.
But they're not kids. These are
You see,
grown-ups.
I do actually have
I-
friends in Washington State, so I'm gonna ask them about this
I-
on another occasion.
I just feel like
And see like what they know about good old CHAZ.
the Chads and Chadettes of Chaz.
I don't think that's how it works. Is it CHAZ? Chazzers?
Chazanites, Chazites. I don't know. They didn't-
Chazinians?
I don't know. Even in their video, they didn't even know that their name is Chaz. Like some of the people in the group didn't even know the name of their group.
Oh,
It's just
man.
like, how
You
stupid
see,
can
that's-
you be?
It's not. I don't think it's just.
It's
I
not.
don't
Yeah,
think it's stupidity. It's just pure
Ignorance.
anarchy.
but like,
That's what anarchy is right there.
why is it really so difficult to comprehend that anarchy never works? And then while yes, maybe on day 1 or 2 you'll like loot every building and get like a free flat screen TV, but like on day 2, like that high is gone and society's still gone with the wind, so there's nothing left.
I mean, the universe works in mysterious ways, man.
What is this?
The universe tends towards anarchy anyway. Just funny enough.
Shut up, P, with your entropy,
Dude!
your entropy
Dude.
science.
Hey, listen. It's completely right, and you know it. It's just that we, as human beings, have tried super hard to fight the natural order of things, and to some point, we've succeeded. But then there are people like the Chazanites who have decided that maybe we should just give in, let go, and then let the universe take its course,
No,
so to speak.
you're acting like these people know what they're doing. They did not know they were
No,
starting anarchy.
I'm
They were
trying
just
to rationalize for them what they don't understand, probably.
then that doesn't make any sense because you're basically trying to make it out like they know what they're doing. They don't know what they're doing. You know more what they're doing than they know what they're doing.
It's quite possible.
It's sad.
You know what I found uh intriguing about that whole thing is that you could get so many people to buy into one thing even if they don't even know what it is exactly that they're buying into. And that's so powerful. Like the power of of social psychology in general, where or just being able to have a group think alike. You know, like we've talked about
It's
it
mob
before.
mentality.
Mob mentality, tribe mindset, you know, we're a herd.
I hate it.
I mean, like it or not, it's in your DNA.
No. No.
Yeah, no, it's not. You're not a human being.
No, but like you can the thing is we established like what it means to be happy in a previous podcast, and one of our biggest points is confronting your own ignorance and your own flaws and overcoming that.
Yep.
These people definitely did not do that ever in their lives. I don't think. I think that's fair to say.
I mean,
because like
you can't just say that right away.
I
You don't
can't.
know
I
any of these
can't.
people.
You're right. But let me ask to all the people who actually genuinely support CHAZ. What exactly was the goal? What was the end game? What? So you seceded from the U.S. You conquered 4 blocks or 8 blocks of land, not even farmable land, just like metropolitan land. You got the police out, and you got all the doctors out, and most of the food people also were left. So you don't have restaurants, you don't have police, you don't have government, you have nothing. What what do you think is gonna happen? Now, you might say that they tried to expand, you know, just keep growing, like Napoleon with his army when he was marching to Paris.
Yep.
Maybe they thought that block by block they will conquer all of Seattle and then all of Washington and then the whole United States would be in the
United
in
Autonomous
anarchy.
Zones.
United in anarchy, but like
United States of Autonomous Zones. That's what we'd be.
I mean,
But anyways, go on. Sorry.
it's just like I get it. Stuff happened. America has its a lot of bad stuff has happened in recent years, and not even recent years, in recent weeks, or months,
and all of history.
Well, I doubt they're
to be
thinking
fair.
about that, but
Yeah, that's true.
so a lot of bad stuff happened, and change should happen. I do believe in that, but I there was a quote, right, and I forget the author. I'll look it up and put it in the description. But the quote was basically, "Fighting for peace is the same thing as screwing for virginity." And I think that's such a funny quote.
Huh.
Because it's just like... I don't think that's entirely true, but just the concept alone is kind of true. If you want to create peace with guns and violence and literally putting up a wall... I'm confident most of these people who join CHAZ are probably going to say they're very anti-Trump. And Trump was pro-wall. And these guys created a wall in their own thing. So it's just like, do you not see the hypocrisy or just the irony in what you're doing? Like, you're standing for one thing, but your actions clearly demonstrate an alternative belief. Like, you don't even believe in your own beliefs. And I think, I still think it would fail, but at the least you could be consistent with yourself. If you believe in anarchy, I'm not for you, but at least believe in it. Don't just be like, we don't believe in guns, but we need guns. I need a gun. It's like, wait a minute. That kind of defeats the purpose, doesn't it?
Yeah. I like the wall example because that was another ironic thing that they had in the video, that if you're listening, you go ahead and watch it because it'll be there.
No,
It's like, yeah,
the
they're
peak. That's,
against the walls, but we built our own wall.
yeah,
I thought that was funny.
but the
Also.
biggest peak of irony in all of CHAZ is probably their treatment towards the police. So
Yes.
one of the main
Yes,
thing
yes,
about
yes, yes.
the one of the main things about the CHAZ people is the CHAZ cult is basically they didn't like the police and they wanted to defund the police. Basically, America
Just
with
completely get rid of.
yeah,
the
no
police.
more police. All right, you can believe that. This is America. You're allowed to believe the world is flat and God
Yeah.
laid an egg. You can believe whatever you want. But when they started shooting each other, they started begging the police to come in and save them. Like, what the heck are you doing? Like, honestly. Like, how can you, like, look yourself in the mirror and be like, I'm against the police and I'm against the system and I don't like it, and then the next day you're begging the people you pushed away. You pushed away. They didn't move away. You pushed them away, and now you're saying, please come back to help us. It's like, the system isn't perfect, but, like, it was doing its job, and that's kind of to, like, maintain order. You got rid of the order, and now...
Yeah, okay. With that respect, yeah. Keep going.
Listen, it's not a perfect system. The police are not perfect, and balance of power is probably one of the biggest gray areas in all of humanity.
Yeah.
Being responsible with power is borderline impossible for a human being to do. But that's not the point. The point is, you say no police, and they obliged. They literally left. And the mayor or the governor of the Seattle city was like, fine, let them do what they want. And they're literally walling themselves in. So it's like, okay, you got everything you want. You literally got everything you asked for. You start killing each other within 10 days. One.
Anarchy, my friend.
But like how...
No, this is why I say it's just so intriguing. It's like it's a perfect psychological experiment. Just like it's a social experiment even.
It reminds me so much of you know what Jim Jones is?
No.
You don't remember that like decades ago there was a group of people in the United States that went to Guyana and created their own little town, and then there was a mass
I didn't.
Kool-Aid cyanide drinking.
What?
You don't know this?
Kool-Aid cyanide drinking.
Yeah,
As in people were killing
mass
themselves?
suicide. Yes.
What? I had no... What?
Not recently. This was like decades ago.
Dude, where have I been? I've been under a rock again. I don't know. I've never heard of this in my life.
Should we talk about it, or like brief history lesson?
Talk about it.
Okay, so basically there was this guy, Jim Jones, and he was part of like the Evangelion Church, I believe. He was like a choir singer, and he was like kind of like that, right? And then he created like his own church, and he started doing you know how like in the South like there's very like with choirs and mass like singing and a lot of liveliness in those churches.
Yeah.
So he created one of those, right? And he eventually started getting a following because he was a very charismatic person, and he was quote unquote performing miracles. So
Really?
like he would get like an old person, right? And the old person, or not, I don't even remember if it was an old person or someone dressed up as an old person. So the old person would act very decrepit and like move very slowly and say they have pains.
Right.
And then Mr. Jones would like do his magic and be like, "You are now healed," and then the person would start like dancing and moving around like crazily, which proves that he has magic powers. Clearly,
No, he's not magic. He's just performing miracles. Alex.
yeah, he's performing a miracle. He cured age and arthritis.
Yeah.
Through the power of, I don't know, his powers.
Existence. Yeah. Go
And
on.
he amassed a following. He became almost he became a bit of a celebrity in America.
Wow.
And basically at some point he decided to move to Guyana with all of his followers and create a little town.
How many people went?
1,000
with him?
roughly.
1,000 people went with him to Guyana.
Yeah. And
How have I never heard about this?
So they went more like 930. All right.
Okay,
But,
dude,
okay.
same
A thousand is a thousand. All right. And they went and they built a city and not city. They built a little town. They had like it was in a Guyana is a very forested
Yeah, yeah,
area, so
yeah.
they really like had to cut down the trees and establish stuff. But they created a town. Like they did it. And eventually, what ended up happening is Mr. Jones started telling lies because they were excluded from the outside world. They didn't have any access to the media.
Oh.
This was before smartphone technology.
Yeah, yeah.
So basically, he would have a megaphone right over the
Oh,
entire
boy.
town, like a military camp. And he would basically say, it's like the American government is trying to take over. They're trying to invade us. Like a North Korean style of propaganda. He's basically telling everyone it's like
Or just propaganda in general.
yeah,
Like,
but
very
like just like how
isolated propaganda. Yeah.
yeah, and over time, people started not liking living there, as you do as a rational person.
Wow.
So he started all of his higher ups because there was like a hierarchy system with him at the
course.
top, and all of his like second in commands. He gave them all guns.
Oh my gosh.
So now you have to do what he says, and you're not allowed to leave. If you try to leave, they'll try to shoot you.
Wow.
And eventually, this went on for a long time. And at some point, Mr. Jones or a reporter, he said, "Can I come to visit? Can I visit the town?" Right?
Yeah.
And he visited the town, and everyone in the town was forced against their will to be smiling.
Wow.
And clapping and dancing and basically make it look like the utopian society everyone on the outside thought it was. And there was like someone wrote a note to the reporter, and he said something like, "Please help us," or "This is all a lie," or like something to the reporter, very small but like subtle. And the reporter kind of was like, all right, all right. And I don't remember if they planned to like kill the reporter or if they just like freaked out, because if the world found out how horrible it really was, then people would actually come and like come after them.
Yeah.
So Mr. Jones came up with the brilliant idea of let's kill ourselves. And cyanide isn't very tasty.
No,
And
I didn't think it was either.
so, for those of you who don't know what cyanide is, it's basically like an extremely potent acid. I think it's basically, if you drink cyanide, you're burning your insides, so you're gonna die from the inside out.
It's beautiful.
And you end up foaming in the mouth, and
What a way to go,
it's
man.
extremely painful. And as far as technology is now, there is not really any surviving that. Once you drink some cyanide, you're pretty much
You're done,
You're
buddy.
done. You're done. So what he did to try and make people stomach it down was he was mixing cyanide with Kool-Aid.
Dude.
So
Oh my gosh.
so you were talking about the psychology of people. He managed to convince 900 people to kill themselves. And mind you, not everyone did it. Some people did escape. Funnily enough, his higher ups, who obviously in the documentary they feigned innocence. They feigned that they didn't do anything wrong. That they were were also forced against their will.
Oh my!
But
Well,
like,
what? That's a crazy thing too, though. How can they be forced again?
well, here's the thing. If there's like 5 lieutenants and you decide you're against it, what's stopping the other 4 from killing you?
Well,
So
what
they-
happens if you can get the other 4 to side with you, though?
That's the thing, right? When you live in this kind of society, if you speak against Jim Jones, they would report you. Like, no one could say anything bad about the society. No one can say anything bad about Jones. No one can say anything bad about the world they're living in. Because if they did, they would be reported, and the threat of being killed is very, very much alive. You're stuck in the middle of nowhere in South America in a forest, with people with guns who are ruling over you. What are you gonna do? It's like, yeah, fight the power, man. It's like, no, you're gonna sit there and be quiet and pray to God you can find a way out.
I mean, yeah, there is no fighting a totalitarian leader, unfortunately.
And you were talking about
man.
and you were talking about the psychology of the people. Like,
Yeah. Because I wanted to talk a little bit about that, but go on, go on.
So no, like this clearly shows like how people can really be manipulated into doing really crazy stuff. And by the time they sober up and realize that what they've done was a huge mistake, it's too late.
Dude, I mean, ideas are powerful. An idea doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Right or wrong.
Yeah, exactly. If you believe in it, it could be sharper than the sword. Like the pen is mightier than the sword.
It's true.
I mean, it's like that's a analogy for education, but I mean, in this context, it kind of applies as well. Like if you could rally 1,000 people behind an idea, and then also convince
the
80%
majority of them
to commit suicide. I mean,
he's not the only. There was like the mass suicide in California. Where
dude,
the guy pretended to be like the second coming of Jesus or something.
Dude, what? I haven't heard of any of these, man.
I might be getting that one wrong because I just briefly, I briefly heard about it in the past, but yeah, this happens, and I feel sad. Like,
wow.
I don't understand cult mentality. Well, I kind of do. If you are down in your luck, and you're miserable, and you don't have any worth living, per se. Like, let's say you struggle to wake up in the morning and be productive with anything. And then all of a sudden, you have quote unquote a savior or a mission, like a life goal, that's been handed to you by quote unquote just people. People who believe in justice and fairness,
Yeah.
self-proclaimed, mind you.
Yeah.
You might be hypnotized into believing them, and then you join them, and then you fight alongside them.
I'm still wrestling with this idea, like in my head right now. Just this whole. What was his name? Jim
Jones.
Jim Jones taking 1,000 people to Guyana.
Mind you, this wasn't like within a few months. This happened like after years of doing this stuff. I believe Jonestown, which is the name of the thing.
Of course, it was called Jonestown.
The thing. I believe it lasted only less than a year, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe. I'm not sure about that, but
it's not surprising.
But the build this happened over the course of many years to build up that following,
Yeah.
So it's not like he came out of nowhere, recruited people, and then brought them to Guyana. He really established himself as a profound leader. That's charisma is dangerous.
Well, I suppose if you are a person that possesses charisma, and
that's power. That's power.
Yeah, and if you have some pretty bad views or some pretty anti-social, as in anti-society views, then I mean, you could lead a lot of people down the wrong rabbit hole.
Yeah. Aren't most sociopaths very charismatic, or is it psychopaths? I think it's sociopath, but
no, a sociopath is someone that doesn't feel emotion.
Oh, so then probably a psychopath.
It might be
someone who has,
yes,
because there are a lot of horrible people that convince innocent people to do bad stuff, but usually they come across when you first see them as very charming.
Yeah, side note, you remember the movie Psycho?
Psycho.
It was the most famous horror movie. It was I think 1950s or 1960s.
I know of it.
It was just the Norman Yates. I forget. Norman Bates. Yeah. He was super charismatic as a person, but then you realize throughout the end of the movie that he's quote unquote a psycho.
Yeah.
So, damn.
But I know the pen is mightier than the sword, and I know ideas are extremely powerful, but why can't questions be even more powerful?
They are.
No one seems to pick up that weapon.
Well, I feel like the people who use it as a weapon just fall into the same category in the end as people who are just embracing an idea without questioning it.
No, because the difference
because a question I feel should not be used as a weapon. It should just be used as a way for enlightenment.
Not a weapon, but if someone tells you something you wouldn't believe them right away, or at least you shouldn't, because
Yeah. I mean,
like
I definitely wouldn't.
it's literally one of the first thing you teach children is don't talk to strangers. If and I know we're adults, so we're quote unquote more responsible than children.
Quote unquote.
But like, if a guy on or a girl on the street starts preaching to you about something you know nothing about, would you
The
listen?
sky is actually green, kids.
It's like, would you listen to them? And if so, why? Why would you listen to them? Like, if I went on the street and said, "Hey, give me a loan of $1 million," you probably wouldn't give it to me, and there's a good reason for that. You don't know why I'm asking for it. You don't know what I'm gonna. I could be giving it to create a new school system to help all the people. But you don't know that.
Or I could be using it to buy a new Bugatti.
Buy a Tesla car.
Teslas are way cheaper, my friend.
Are they?
Yes.
Okay, that's not the subject of today.
Yeah.
Elon Musk, join our podcast, by the way.
No, I'm saying it's just so intriguing. Like the whole idea of
Manipulation.
manipulation, mob mentality. So what I was talking about
With the
a
CHAZ.
couple of days ago
Oh.
with my friend, not really a friend, where he's
Your friend.
yeah.
You can call him a friend.
We were talking about how society has progressed through the years, like throughout all of human civilization and everything. And he made the argument to me that we, on an individual level, are idiots. We're so stupid. And I was shocked to hear something like this.
I disagree.
Because we have, wait, let me finish
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
So, and it's because of our ego, because we're egoistic characters, But you said on a communal or a social, like in a group level, we're actually quite intelligent. So I definitely have been like really thinking about that and how it applies to CHAZ, for instance, how for instance, as a group, people are able to rally behind an idea, but yet that idea can be so false and so just illogical, irrational.
Are you sure you phrased it correctly? You said an individual is stupid, but a community is smart.
Yeah, no, that is exactly what he said. And no, I didn't say I agreed with it.
I disagree.
I very much disagree as well. But you see, I'm trying to see both sides here, as I do with basically everything. So, like, I understand what he says.
What did he say? Why is a community stronger than or smarter than an individual? Because you remove the ego from the individual.
Yes, exactly. And you think as a group rather than doing things based on your own selfish gain.
That's theoretical, though.
Yeah,
that's 100%. If we lived in a pure community, as in no one cared about themselves and they only contributed to like the community itself, like bettering the community, then yeah, I might be inclined to agree with that sentiment. But unfortunately, communities more realistically are just a bunch of individuals slammed together, who all of which are trying to get their own help themselves, while also not trying to be perceived in that way. Basically to survive in the community, you have to like
do stuff only for the community.
But like in your heart of hearts, you're most likely doing it for yourself.
Yeah, so that's the issue. He says like people are ego driven and we do things because we are selfish. And like yeah, that's completely true. The thing is I feel as though because of that we are not necessary. Yeah, like the reason I disagreed with him is because it is due to that ego that we are not necessarily intelligent, not get past that barrier. And he was telling me no, but technically that just applies to you as an individual. As a group, we're still like, we're still able to do all these things. Like we're getting people to the moon. We're creating a civilization. We have a society. As messed up as this society is.
Yeah, but the problem is, and maybe I'm wrong when I say this, but all the progress that has happened throughout all of humanity, all the science, all of the technology, while it's true it was not like created by like single people, like there's no one person built a rocket, no one person created everything, but it was fueled by like individuals.
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna say next.
Innovation
Yeah,
typically isn't community based. Like that's why China gets a lot of flack stereotypically for being robots, because as far as the outside world is thinking when they see China, they usually think they don't have any original ideas. They always copy everyone else.
which is horribly wrong, in my
It's,
opinion.
I mean,
And
it probably
from
is
what I know,
wrong, but
no,
like
it is most definitely
but
wrong.
like
There is a lot of
a
innovation
lot of my
going on in
Chinese
China.
friends will be like, the Chinese copied Honda, they copy Mercedes, they copy iPhones, they copy they one guy made a copy of Michael Jordan's shoes with the his symbol, and the only difference is instead of doing a split, his legs are together, but it's the identical
Huh?
pose. And the guy became a billionaire because no one cares. No Chinese person's looking at that symbol and being like, "That's not Michael Jordan." So it's
It's fair.
like they are kind of known for being knockoffs. They're kind of they like I'm not saying they don't create original stuff. I'm sure there are many brilliant people. No, there are objectively brilliant people in China, but like, can you name something that was invented in China? And no, fireworks from like the Ming dynasty doesn't count.
Okay, well, have you heard of WeChat?
Did WeChat come out before or after WhatsApp?
Before, I believe. But it doesn't matter because WeChat is an all-in-one. It's an extremely
Yeah, but it's the thing about WeChat is
versatile thing.
it's very, and maybe I'm wrong, but I believe the government like has control over that. Like
It does.
everything
But
about
that
WeChat.
a lot of stuff in China is state controlled
No,
anyway.
so it can
So it
be
doesn't
argued that that technology is more used just for spying than for
Well,
luxury of
to
the
be
people.
fair, it's like they do what they want, right?
No, it's true,
It's
but
their
like
government.
WeChat is definitely great. From all the Chinese people I met in Boston, it's apparently like amazing. And my dad went to China, and he was using WeChat. And it's like it's so amazingly convenient to just
It
pull out
is.
your phone and do all that
Yeah,
stuff.
I'm also not being a very anti. I'm not trying to take a backseat. I'm just saying like it's not my place to judge China based on what they do.
We're not judging China. I'm
I'm
just
saying that's why I say like it's their government. That doesn't matter.
no, we're not talking about their government. We're not talking about their way of life. I'm just stating like how the outside view it. I know China is amazing, but I also know that not everyone knows that. You know.
Yeah.
So Chinese government, if you're listening to me, first of all, welcome to the podcast. Second of all, we're not against you. We're just letting you know how the outside looks at you. You probably already know this. You probably heard a million times over, but
Yeah.
it is
It's
what it is.
unfortunate.
Keep up the good work. If you made a mistake, we forgive you.
And stay positive.
Stay
But
positive.
anyways, so I didn't like the fact that he was saying that because one of the biggest ironies of it is, you, as you said before, you succeed as an individual. As a society, we haven't really succeeded in community, like in a great way.
And
Other than creating countries and creating civilizations and being able to communicate on such grand scales, like when it comes to trading on the stock market, for instance, you can form a corporation, and just perform transactions and things on the nature of government as well, where you can find representation for all the people residing over a certain land, or residing in a certain land. So other than that, we haven't had like a big win in a group setting. Like all the wins, like you said, they come on individual bases, and yet like what I said was super ironic, is that in order to make those wins, or to get those wins on the group level, you have to undergo what is called essentially an ego death, which happens only as an individual, not
So to
on a
get
group,
rid of.
to get rid of the ego that so-called holds us back, because as a group it is what is, like we're supposed to try to not be egotistical or egoistic, so as the group is going to be prospering
He's
versus
not.
the individual.
He's not wrong, but we've had.
No, that's not something he said. That's something that I thought
Oh
about.
well, then you're right.
Well, I'm just saying it's just super ironic because like it's built into that idea that like you have to undergo an ego death in order for the group to, um, prosper. But that's something that can only happen as an individual.
Yeah.
So like, it's just it's a hamster wheel. It doesn't end.
It's anti-human.
Yeah,
A human,
unfortunately,
a human would never do that, ever.
Yeah, well, there is such thing as ego death. To be fair,
And no, honestly, is there even a single animal that like would, like when you look at animals, right? Even the same species, they'll compete a bit amongst each other because it's for survival. They're not.
yeah,
You know, well, obviously, in a perfect world, those animals would probably have enough food to like feed all of them. Eventually, food might run out, and so the biggest and the toughest eat first, and then whatever's left can maybe go to the rest. And if there's not enough, they die. And that's just like nature. That like those animals aren't thinking about like the ramifications of like right and wrong. They're just literally, I'm hungry and
that's true.
I'm gonna die.
In the jungle, if you're a tiger, you don't care if you're gonna step on a bug. You go and you find your food, and that's it. Same thing for bears. Same thing for lions. It's just there's no RGB. It's just black and white for them.
There's never been a community-based government system that worked. Communism, socialism, all of them, for those to quote unquote work.
Alex is gonna go on a rant now.
It's not a rant. It's just stating the obvious. Capitalism sucks, right? But all these attempts at utopian societies where everyone gets equal pay always has like a ruling party.
Yeah.
So basically, the only way it quote unquote works is literally if some higher entity is forcing you against your will to work, and naturally people don't like being forced to do anything.
Yeah.
Like, and that's just human nature. Like, if someone, like, I remember reading about just the whole notion of very aggressive vegans and how the ones that always yell at you are kind of hurting their own cause. Because if I wanted to be vegan and you start screaming at me to be vegan, I probably won't want to be vegan anymore.
Yep.
And it's not because I don't believe in it, it's just because I was forcibly and aggressively told by someone to be it, which makes me not want to be it. And the analogy I came up with is, if you wanted to eat like broccoli, would you rather be told like the benefits and like the good things about broccoli, or would you rather someone take the broccoli and force your mouth open and just shove it right down your throat and like force you to swallow it? Which of the two would you prefer?
It's crazy, man, because another thing he told me, and I hate to believe this, but even though I'm a huge like simulation person,
shut up.
No, another thing he was like, oh yeah, you know we don't have free will, right? And I was like, what are you saying, man? I don't like that idea because I'm a very driven person, and my drive, I assume, comes from my free will and my ability to make my decisions and motivate myself and fuel myself for my goals.
What, does he believe in predestination?
I don't know what he believes in. All he told me is like, we don't have free will.
Then what
his argument was this, and this is actually pretty compelling, but it still didn't make me buy it. He said, your thoughts are not your own. Your thoughts just materialize. They just occur. They happen out of nowhere. You don't know where they come from or how they happen. They just, like this, out of nowhere. Like, I could tell you right now, or I could tell you to think something and you'll start thinking it. But how did you start thinking it? I mean, it was just electrical impulses running in your brain. Think of something right now. Random, whatever. And just blurt it out. Cars. Why? Like, how did that come into your mind? It's totally random. It was an electrical impulse in your brain. So he says, apparently, that our thoughts are not our own. And they just occur out of nowhere. And so we have no free will because of that. like I said, I don't like it. I don't like it at all because
You
it
can
shakes me to my core.
you can say that, but it's not true because the electrical impulses that happen in your brain are relatively random. They're not 100% structured.
All right, neuroscientist.
So he's wrong from that scientific
I
point of view.
probably I don't know enough about neuroscience to tell you if you're right or tell him if he's wrong. I just know that
If I
go on, go on.
if I cause brain damage to someone, the electrical impulses in their brain have now drastically changed, which means their quote unquote not free will that they didn't have before is now completely different. Which means that the only way there can be a difference is that there's actual free will. So there, I've proven him wrong.
I know, but I know I'm saying the whole like part about how your brain works is like just me trying to rationalize it.
I get
His
it.
his whole point was about how thoughts occur. That's it.
How thoughts occur.
Yes.
I mean, I think that we can go into the science of it, but that's just very stimulus heavy.
Yes.
You are very influenced by the environment you're raised in,
Yeah,
and we
exactly.
adapt accordingly.
Yeah.
Which means, depending on where we grew up or how we're raised, our brain will function differently.
Yeah. So, anyways, back to the reason I introduced that was because um, people just people want to believe in free will. You know, they're the whole essence of living is, you know, believing that you can make your own decisions. And so, of course, if someone's shoving a broccoli down your throat, yeah, the first instinct you're gonna have is to take it and try to shove it down their throat because they're trying to make you do something that you don't want to do. Exactly. Free will is very appealing, and I mean, you know, like I said, for me, it drives me, you know, and that just how that's how people are. You know, it's the belief in that idea. Um,
Okay.
so now that we've talked about these two anarchical I don't know, I'm gonna sound like
Anarchy or totalitarian?
these two anarchy type societies, and I mean Alex had like a mini rant on left politics.
No, not left. Just like
That is the left, right?
it is the left, but like it's more revolving around forcing people to do stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. So
If you want to tie that to the left,
well,
audience,
the
be,
left
be
and the
my
right
guest.
does that in their own way. It's beautiful. Now, yeah, we talked about these anarchy societies. We talked about, um, I guess, why people don't like being told what they do, what they have to do. What you said briefly to me before that you have a possible solution. Now, I mean,
Not a
to
solution.
be so bold as to claim as you
I
have a
did not say
solution.
solution.
Yeah, okay.
Do you actually want to talk about that, or you want to let me talk about it?
That's up to you.
All right. So here, if listen to all the CHAZ people and all the crazy people,
The Jim Jones or the Jonestowns.
the Jonestownians, the anarchist cookbook lovers, and neo Nazis,
Yes,
and
the left and the right, doesn't matter where you are.
yeah,
Here
to
it
all
is.
the people who think anarchy works, first you're wrong, but I'll give you some pointers as to how you want to start a society, and by the end of it you'll realize it still won't work. But anyway, so the first things first, you need food, and you need here's the biggest thing. First things first is you probably want to be autonomous. You want to be sovereign, you want to be independent and not rely on any other country, simply because if you rely on another country you're at their mercy to a certain extent. If you have to import food and water, you know, at some point they might raise the prices, or they might just decide to stop giving you stuff, in which case you're just left for dead and on your own. So first things first is you need to establish food and water. Now, we're talking like small scale right now, because you're starting your anarchy state, right, where there's no rules. Actually, no, I'm not talking anarchy. I'm talking utopian.
Come on, man, feed me the utopia.
So utopian society. So basically, if you want a utopian society structure, first of all, you need to establish what you need. What you need is food and water, first of all. And since we live in the modern era, you're probably going to need electricity too.
Mm-hmm.
So you probably want to set up base probably near a water source, whether it's a lake or a river or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
simply because water is important. And you're going to need agriculture, so you're going to need to know how to farm, and you're not going to need the manpower to sustain it. You're probably going to need wood or metal, but more realistically wood to create housing. And you're going to need, you don't need it, but it definitely will help if you have technology, like if you have a refrigerator and you have an oven. So you need electrical appliances. How do you get all that? Well, first you need to start a farm, and you need to have a group of people that are willing to do it, right? So you grow the food and you have your water source. So now you have your food, and basically it's going to be a cycle. You're just going to keep growing the food. Sorry. You're going to keep growing the food and you're going to eat it and then rinse and repeat over and over and over again. And at its core, that's basically a utopian society, because there's nothing more to that. There's no
Mm.
problems. There's no nothing. Now, this is obviously assuming the weather doesn't screw you over, assuming there's no drought, there's no flooding, the seeds don't go fertile, there aren't animals that eat your food. So, assuming all that doesn't affect you, voila, perfect utopian society. Now, the bigger the population is, the more food and water you're going to need to use. So now you need to establish responsibilities, like who's going to be working in the field, who's going to cook the food, who's going to get the water, who's going to clean. You need to establish a lot of order and structure. Now, whether or not you cycle through, like people alternate shifts, or there's just designated people, that's up for you to decide. But essentially, if you don't do structure, then you won't have food and you'll die. Simple as that. So you have all that. Now, here comes the part where people that are not going to like to hear this. And that's, how do you distribute the food? Now, listen, if you're like a 6'6", 300-pound giant of a man versus like a 5'1" woman, who should get more food? From just a
Whoever eats more, man.
from a scientific standpoint, from the guy who's working on the field versus like someone small, or forget man and woman. Say you have a 6'5" guy working in the field, doing the crops, doing all the manual labor on the field, versus like a 5'1" scrawny guy, washing the floor. Who gets more food? It's like, well, in a perfect world they'd all get the same, but you're not living in a perfect world.
Perfect world characterized by
Surplus.
no, I'm saying like everyone would get the same, like perfect world characterized by everybody gets equal portions.
Yeah, from an egalitarian or equality point of view. But like the thing is, that kind of equality doesn't work because you're just completely ignoring factual science just for subjective morality.
Mm-hmm.
If a guy uses more energy and is bigger, he's going to expend more energy, which means he needs to recuperate it with more food. Yeah. So you need to give it to that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in a utopian society, all the little people would realize that's fair. That's not going to happen, but that if you want a utopian society, all those little people that are doing less of the energy consuming work, they're going to need to realize that they shouldn't be getting the most food.
Yeah. So it is unfortunate. It's ironic because, on a community basis, you need to
work together.
You're working together, but accepting that there is difference between you and the other person. So kind of contradictory in a sense, what you're describing. It's like a mix between equality for all, but an opposite of what we talked about before. What my friend said, on an individual basis, you are only working for the group. On the group basis, you are understanding that you are all different individuals.
Yeah, but we're not talking about an equality society. We're talking about utopian
No, I know.
Society.
That's what I'm saying that you're describing.
Yeah.
I'm saying like on an individual basis, you are not doing stuff for yourself, you're doing stuff for the greater good of the group. And on a group basis, you understand that you are yourself different, and that is a constituent part of the society, and what part that plays is the part that helps it grow further, rather than, you know, not from a sense that you as an individual are causing technological advancement, but rather you as an individual are a one of the pieces in the puzzle to help it all. You know, like
Yeah.
you are not the reason that the semiconductor or the transistor just allowed computing to, you know, like explode.
Yeah.
You know, like you and 20 million others as in your little society are the reason that this transistor exploded.
Yeah. So basically, what I've outlined is the basic form of how a utopian society could actually successfully
Yeah.
function. Now, here's the part where I tell you what it would take to completely ruin that entire ecosystem. Mind you, this is an extremely small scale. Like, this is
Oh
like
yeah.
less than 100 people society. It would work, except for one thing. What happens if someone dozes off? Or wants a little more food, or steals some food for their children.
You're familiar with chaos theory, correct?
Shut up, Pete.
Come on, man. A butterfly flaps its wings in Brazil, and there's a
That's
hurricane in New
that's
York.
the butterfly effect, not chaos
Yeah,
theory.
that is
They're the
chaos
same
theory.
name.
It's like derived. I'm just saying, like, the smallest little change can disrupt something. I mean, like, like no one's seen before. That's my point. You know, like you just need the smallest little change. You need someone to doze off. You need someone to
Not
decide.
just
I
get
want
bored.
a little bit. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So now you might be thinking, "Oh, that's not a big deal. Someone's feeling a little sleepy. Someone's stealing food for their kids. That's not a bad thing at all, and we could just overlook that, right?" Well, that's on the assumption that everyone is willing to overlook that. One, two, if all of you actually somehow agree to overlook that, what's stopping them from doing it again? Nothing. And what happens if they keep doing it? They'll do it more. That's why the expression, give them an inch, they'll take a mile. If you tolerate this kind of behavior, they'll just do it worse and worse and worse. And what this will cause is it'll cause friction. It'll cause either people will start pointing fingers and saying, hey, you're not doing work. And this causes tension, which ruins the utopian society, because now people are no longer working together. People are now more worried about the contribution of others. And guess what? Bye bye, utopian society. And what most likely will end up happening is there'll be a divide. Either that group will be
One group will secede, possibly.
yeah. So now you have two farms.
Yeah.
And
And then you
then-
have competition, and we're just back to the same thing. It's a cycle.
And we have competition, and then within those two groups, there's eventually, within a few months or years, there'll be more groups, and they divide, so now you have 4, and then 8, and then 20,000, and then by the time you realize it, the whole world has like 217 countries, and they all hate each other. And
Yeah.
within those countries, they all have their own counties, states, and sovereignties.
Sovereign CHAZs, CHAZanites.
Chazanites.
So as I can see, and I agree and disagree with your utopian society.
You don't think it would work if everyone got
Well,
over
I know
themselves?
I know it wouldn't work, but it's
I
just
know it
because
would
of
work.
in human nature.
I know it would work, but the stipulation is out of fear. I came up to the conclusion that the only way this system would work is if like humanity was on the brink of extinction. Like literally you have to be at like the end of the world for you to get over yourself and just contribute. Like no more the petty nonsense. You just do
Well,
it.
of course, people will do anything to survive. That's common sense.
Yeah, but like it shows that it's possible, but just not willingly possible.
No.
No one is willingly able to do this. They have to do it either out of
But
fear.
you see, here's where I will disagree with you again, because the sense of survival also may just apply to the individual. Unless the individual has realized that the only way to ensure their individual survival is through a group, like they're gonna try to do whatever they can to just ensure their own survival. Why would I care about the whole group surviving when I can just make sure I'm alive. Because quite frankly, like, I can be the most sympathetic person on this planet. I can literally, like, see you, like, your, like, hypothetical situation, your grandparents just passed away, and I can feel as bad for you as I possibly can. I'm crying with you every day, and I'm sympathizing. But, like, you know, we're at the end of the world, we're at a mass extinction event, and all of that sympathy means nothing because I don't care if you are dead. I'm just gonna try to provide for myself and for my family.
That's fine.
That's how people think. That's what I'm saying.
That's fine. Good luck doing that on your own, on the brink of
Well,
society.
That's what I'm saying, though. That's how That's how it's
We're
like
wired to be like that.
It's literally our nature.
Yeah, that's why I said it's only sustainable by fear. If you're afraid you're gonna die if you are not working together, then you're gonna work together. Once that fear is gone,
exactly.
once that fear is gone, you're no longer like, who cares? I can doze off if I want. I can take an extra apple from the pile. And that brings us, like, strangely, that brings us back to what we said in a previous podcast, that we just need an enemy. We just need a problem. These people who are fighting in CHAZ, they don't have problems. Like, if you spend your life sitting around a bunch of blocks, screaming in the streets and shooting each other, do you really have problems? Like, actual problems, or just made up problems?
Time.
Too much time.
You have time on your hands.
You have too much time.
Oh, man.
If they had, like, a legitimate problem to overcome, they probably wouldn't be shooting each other in the streets. Hot take, right?
I mean, to be fair, if they had, like, problems putting food on the table, for instance, or like real difficult problems that a lot of families go through, you know, it's they wouldn't waste their time.
Honest to God, if these guys, most of these people look like high school or early college people, and I'm just like, had like actual families that they cared and loved for, do you even think they'd be on the street? No, they would be working. They'd be like doing something, not just wasting their time. I feel bad for them though, because imagine, like, you are applying for a job.
Don't pity them. They're human beings. They make their own decisions.
It's true, but I do feel bad because, like, now, even if they regret their decision, if you, like, apply for a job and they find out, oh, you were a part of CHAZ, why would anyone hire you?
I don't know. I guess
they wouldn't. I wouldn't
just
hire
leave
you.
it out of your resume.
No, but they'll fact check you. They'll be like, were you with CHAZ? And
background checks.
And man. I'm 100% certain some of these people are stupid and insecure enough to, like, write CHAZ on their resume, because they might think they have, like, they might think they're fighting a good fight. They might think they're, like, doing a good thing.
Well, the way I see it is, the fight is technically a good fight, but it is a losing battle, and the way that in which they are fighting is also just
they're not
horrible.
even fighting it. They're fighting each other. They're not even fighting the system.
Yeah.
And it's funny because whenever I imagine if anarchy, like, struck society, I always imagine it would take like a few months for, like, people to start killing each other. It took them 10 days.
Well, to be fair, small scale.
Yeah, this is
2-3 blocks. Like, on a grand scale, on a let's say national level, it'd probably take maybe a few months.
I don't think so.
Really?
Yeah.
Actually, no. I think it would take a few months for it to be massive unrest. But, you know, on community levels, like a 2-3 block radius, is that? No, it takes a couple of days. Yeah.
But, like, Pete, if you joined an organization and you don't even survive the week, what kind of organization is that?
One that values
nothing.
Brevity in existence. I don't know.
Like, listen, if we have any CHAZ supporters or CHAZ people listening to this podcast, CHAZanites, listening to this podcast, thank you for joining us.
Like, comment, subscribe.
Like, comment, subscribe, download our podcast. We're not against you, like, the individual.
Except you did kind of, like, really crap on all over CHAZ for some time. But go on.
No. We're against CHAZ, but, like, as far as the individual is concerned, like, we're not against you. But, like, you need to realize how much of a hypocrite your organization is. You, the individual, might not even agree with like half the stuff the people your organization claims they do, but unfortunately you've associated yourself with them, so we don't know all the individuals, we just know the general group. But like, how can you like look at a group that says no guns, we're anti-gun but we supply you with guns, we're anti-police but we beg the police when we're in trouble, you know, like.
I guess the overarching message is, or no, not I guess, I know. The overarching message that we're trying to get across is that human society is so convoluted and so complex, and the butterfly effect applies to everything that we do. You know, like you can try one little thing and it could blow up and make a totally different situation than what you expected. You know, like unfortunately, human society is not a petri dish. We have constantly changing ecosystem. We're on a living planet. You know, it's quite obvious, and you know, like trees themselves, they're quite intelligent. Um, you know, like plants. There are other living things on this planet, so it's not like we don't have any externalities either that could mess around with our society. So unfortunately, we can't just bubble ourselves off and form this utopia that we so desperately would love. But the way I see it is, if you can at least do your part for yourself and at least try to make the world a better place in any way that you think is actually beneficial, then by all means do that. Because you know, like you can be a quote unquote Chazanite and think you're, like we said before, think you're fighting for a good cause, but in the end, like what you're really doing is just supplying a total state of anarchy and no real help to society.
What's worse is that when people look at you, your group, they're less inclined to support your values just because of how that group handled it.
Yeah. So I think that if you can decide on what you're doing and like understand truly how that thing benefits society, or at least can make society better than what it is now, because believe me, we need that, then by all means do it, go for it, you know, like plant another tree or go and hold a door open for someone, do something today to make a person smile, you know, like chivalry is not dead. uh, um, in random acts of kindness, they help, dude. Like you'd be surprised, a little thing goes a long way. And like it can be anything from like donating to your favorite charity or starting a good cause. Like it doesn't matter what it is, if you find it helps in some way, shape, or form. At least my opinion is, if it helps in some way, shape, or form, then I say you go ahead and do it. What's your thoughts, or what are your thoughts?
I think I think if you really want society to get better, I think you should stop asking for help, stop asking society to change, and stop doing a lot of nothing, screaming at people, aggressively insulting people, using buzzwords at people. That's not going to convince society to change, because if you aggressively try to promote peace and change, no one's going to listen because no one likes to be told what to do. Instead, you should set an example. Like, if you, like, for example, Pete said plant a tree. If you go outside and you're planting a tree, you know, no one might pay any mind. Maybe no one notices, but like you're still contributing. And you should do it not because you should do it either because you like planting or because you want to do it. Not because you like, it's very weird. Like, if you want society to change,
Every constituent of that society needs to feel as though they can make a change, you know, and quite frankly, we're not at that stage.
but like making a change, as weird as it may sound in my opinion, is less about like confrontation and fighting and more about just doing. Like
I agree.
like
The real question is what to do at this point.
and
That is
to
the question
to
that cannot
that
be answered.
I think the answer is just being productive, because I think
It's too vague.
it's too vague, so I'll specify. But the thing is, I'm not against protesting, but to all the people that protest, what actually is accomplished? For a brief period, there is that sense of community, that sense of a bunch of people joining together for one cause, but that's very temporary. And eventually, the society might take heed depending on the size of it, and they might change for a short period of time, but there's nothing stopping it from reverting back. Because they didn't really change because they thought it's a good idea to change. They changed because they just didn't want to deal with any problems, you know? Which is insincere.
Yeah.
So, in the short term, you might have accomplished your goal, but what I'm talking about is more of a long term, like benefiting society as a whole in the far future, where like 20 years from now, 20, 30 years from now, we'll look back at this moment and call ourselves savages. You know, like that far advanced.
That
Not
would be great,
that
to
would
be
be pretty
honest.
good, but you know, the thing is, you shouldn't be taught. Like, I understand the concept of spreading awareness. I understand, because the more people who know about it, the more people might do stuff about it. But you yourself should do more than just spread awareness. You yourself should take action, whether and you shouldn't go out asking for handouts or favors. You shouldn't go out asking for support. You should just do you. You should just do what you feel is the right thing to do. And if people join you, it came naturally. It didn't come from you guilting them or
Hmm.
you telling them, listen, I'm doing a good thing, so you should do it too.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to say it's insincere, but like they're joining you relatively for the wrong reason. They're not joining you because they feel it's a good thing. They're joining you because they feel guilty that you will see them as bad if they don't join you.
Radicalism in 2020.
That's why I feel like you should just like grow a plant, be polite. If you're an athlete, pursue your athletic dreams. If you're a scholar, study what you are passionate in and do it to the fullest of your ability. If you're in a bad environment, try to shrug it off as best as you can and pursue what you're genuinely passionate in, and try to just ignore all the negativity and just pursue what you
As hard
want.
as it may seem, some things may seem impossible, but we're here to tell you that nothing is impossible
Everything's
because
impossible until
uh,
you do it.
no. Everything is implausible until you do it. Nothing is impossible, my friend.
I don't. What's
Shut your
what's
face.
what's implausible mean? Not conceivable.
Yes. Oh, wait. Just, just stop, man. You're just messing up my flow.
No,
The point
the
is,
expression is
yeah,
everyone says it's impossible until it's done.
that's fine. Whoever said that, pat on the back.
I think it's
My
like
my my point is like when it all comes down to the wire, just literally, literally just do you
do
and
what you
try to
love.
help and try to help
Do
and
what
try to think which way you can benefit others before yourself, as hard as it may be and how against your nature it is. You know?
Yeah, I mean, no one's asking you to save the world, but like being polite to the guy sitting or girl sitting next to you, like doing a nice gesture, that costs you nothing. And if everyone could do that, then the
Yeah.
world became an infinitely better place.
Yeah. Right before we end, you just reminded me like how Usain Bolt, what he would do before all of his races. He would like, give like the person right behind them. I don't know if they're like a spotter or something. They just handle their clothes and stuff. They're like events staff for races and stuff. And like he'll just, like talk to them for 30 seconds or give them a little handshake, dap them up, do something. And like in every single case, because I watched a video like how he did on multiple occasions, in every single case that the person whom he interacted with, like you could tell they were just glowing after it, you know And like this is Usain Bolt. Of course, he's very wide-reaching
Famous.
fame, and he's a very influential human being in sports. But like, you know, coming from him and being able to have that down-to-earth mentality, him doing that just shows. It made someone's day. And if you can do something like that, if you can do something like that to make someone else's day, that's I think that's one step in the right direction.
Or just
the Yeah,
try.
the bottom line is it's two words, and that these two words are
Near
the
and dear
things you
to our
need to
heart.
they're the things that you need to do and help other people to do, and those are two.
Stay positive.
Boom.